Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. The happiest of birthdays to you.
Thanks. I mean, yes, it is my birthday.
I figure it would mean just the tiniest bit more if I said it in person.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yes, I appreciate it. I am spry 42.
A spry 42.
Yeah. I'm not a
I
spry
love that
42.
I literally just wished you the happy birthday and then I get a notification on my computer saying, "Hey, it's Zach's birthday today."
Hey, did you tell him it was
Proof.
his birthday? That's what Facebook's still here for. It's
That's
reminding
true.
you whose birthday it is. It's why
Sharing
you keep it
memes.
around.
Sharing memes, trolling people, and remembering when birthdays are.
For me, it's remembering birthdays and making sure everybody's mom knows I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, there you go.
This is basically it. Oh, Facebook.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. You, dear listener, for whatever reason, have decided to listen to another horrible gaming podcast. But with me, because I am usually never alone, with me is...
Neil, a.k.a. Tiny Wizard.
You can hear it. He's still getting over it. He's feeling better. Doing better, right?
Yeah, it's weird in my voice. I'm going to have to randomly mute myself when a coughing fit happens. I, for the life of me, have no idea what it was that I got. I swore I took 3 COVID tests because it felt like that.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
It has to be. It has to be. There's no way it's anything else.
You know, they got COVID now that can beat the test, so you might have still had it.
Yeah, the thing is, I almost wonder if that's what it was.
Yeah.
And it's still, I'm sure you can hear it because I know I can hear it in my voice. I still have a little bit of a sinus thing, and then coughing fits still happen from time to time. So I'll have to randomly mute myself.
COVID is like the dark web. It's whatever you don't want it to be.
Yeah.
Period. But welcome back. I just wanted everybody to know that I did not drag him on here today. He is feeling better. I didn't threaten to fire him if he didn't.
Yeah,
show up
and
today.
honestly, I was gonna make it work last week.
He was
especially given the fact too that I was so ill that 3 days in, that following day, because I was off on Sunday and I just rested the whole day. I was so bad that Monday, when I tried to go to work, I was there for literally 10 minutes before I got sent home. So, yeah.
No problem. So, we're going to do a show. We're going to do a show today, the two of us. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some stuff. And yeah, that's what we do. We do a gaming show here, guys. But before we do that, we have to thank the people who have made this possible. Number one, if you're seeing behind our ugly mugs, you're seeing a fancy custom graphic that was provided by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. Then, of course, the theme song for this show and all of the shows here at Old Man Gaming is provided by the man who makes the music, my brother Nick Van Siders, and we thank him for that. We will be right back with a very short fan traction.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Brings us to our most important segment, our first segment, that's Fan Traction. That's where we, the co-hosts, we talk to you guys, the fans. We shout out all of your comments wherever we find them. We only had one real comment this week. I think I will quote something from Discord in a second just to talk about it. But this one comes from William Hohen. Hi! Exclamation point. Hope Neil didn't get poisoned by his bed lights. That MK1 Switch footage is really shady. Wow, to be honest, I'm a little puzzled on why they released a Switch version and not a PS4 one. Congrats on the 12 years anniversary. Thank you. My wife and I just celebrated our eighth one this year. I'm surprised. I thought you were married for longer than me, Will. Thanks for the show. Hashtag MK1 Switch footage is a lie. So yeah, we did talk about that quite a bit. Well, I talked about that by myself. I'm sure you want to weigh in on it. Well, it was one thing you and I.
Questions.
Me and Neil were gonna talk about that. That was gonna be one of our topics. Well, not. I don't know if it was gonna be our talking point, but I'm sure it would have come up. And then I ended up alone, so I talked about it. So I'm sure you want to weigh in on it, but he is, of course, referring to the MK1 Switch footage. If you have not, by some chance, seen this, go just search YouTube for MK1 Switch footage, and you will find montage after montage of the absolute gross negligence of Netherworlds while selling it for $70 fucking, which is my big issue. But Neil, I got to say all of this last week. What do you want to add to this?
Well, first off, I just realized that my volume was still cranked to the max from when we had our last video thing when Kayla was down here. So yes. My bad for screaming at people.
No problem. You didn't sound that bad on this end. At least
that's good. That's good at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if anybody hasn't seen this, like when we say it's bad, like no, like I don't think you realize how horrendous it is. And shame on Ed Boon for coming out and saying, "Oh, don't worry, guys, we're gonna fix the Switch version." No, there's no fixing that. It's a game that couldn't even run, or at least they didn't try to make it run on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. They're going to skip that and go to the even less powerful system and expect it to be like a great time.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Well, and you can't unmake the loss of trust. You can't correct the fact that you priced a game for $70, which is a premium cost and only a cost associated with the next generation on a console that's that's basically a generation and a half older than the stuff you're using. So it's broken as fuck at a premium cost. It's absolutely ridiculous. The lack of there's no unearthly way they didn't know that it looked like this before they released it. And they certainly knew because they fucking spliced in Steam footage in their Switch trailer.
And that's the next part of it too. Yeah. That reminds me of back when what was it? Anthem did something along the same lines, to where they had the initial capture footage on an Xbox, but then covered it, like the button prompts and everything on the screen with PlayStation prompts or something along those lines.
Oh.
But they'll still said it was all the same footage and everything like that. It's the same thing. Like that is the evidence. That is the smoking gun, the bloody knife, that they knew exactly what it was that they were doing. Shame on them, because it had to go through some manner of quality control, and somebody said, "Yeah, that's fine."
Yep.
Or they just straight up and down said, "Yeah, it'll run, sure, yeah, get it in the fucking box and get it out there, guys." Like, come on, that I will throw squarely at the feet of Warner Brothers, because that's some Warner Brothers ass shit.
It might be. I don't think it would have been
NetherRealm themselves.
Yeah,
but I think it was Warner Brothers.
I don't think they're getting enough shit for this, honestly. And the other thing is, I do remember the Anthem thing, but the thing about Anthem had plenty of problems. I'm not going to say it didn't, but Anthem looked the same on both things, and they were like, so like it's different in the case that like, okay, at least it looked the same. Like, this didn't look the same. Like, you were lying to us, and we know that you knew how this looked. There's no possible way that your company didn't know that this looked like trash when it was going to come out on the Switch, you know?
Right.
But what a train wreck that's been. Like, what an absolute train wreck that's been. Guys,
yeah, I remember watching one of the videos in particular. Like, of course, there's the dumb glitchy things, but there was one point where it was so bad that two characters were walking at each other, but as the camera started to shift in a 2D fighter, like the camera will pan a little bit to catch the edge of the, scenery and then back and forth, depending on where people move.
Right.
As they were moving towards each other, there got to be a point, and then they started shifting diagonally. And then one went straight up to the camera through the camera as the other one fell back into the background. And then when they moved back together, it was the same sort of thing, but then back apart. Like, that's broken beyond broken. I can't fathom. And the fact that it was $70, like, that's the wild thing. Yeah. Like, it was just bad. Like, bad isn't even the right word.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And talking about something else that's ridiculous, this isn't necessarily an official fan traction, but it's a Discord thing that I'd love to bring up. And this goes into more of the multiplayer co-op stuff that is driving me nuts right now. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I've already had serious problems with them. I told everybody that I've had serious problems with them because of their whole anti-cheat situation where I can't crossplay anymore. But they have announced their DLC price guide, basically, like what their DLCs are going to cost. Which, first of all, this is a $40 game out the gate. This is not a free-to-play games as a service sort of thing. It's on Game Pass. But like I said, you pay for Game Pass. You pay for the game with your subscription to Game Pass. This is not a free game in any way, shape, or form. And I guess nobody would expect it to be completely free because this is what Dead by Daylight does. But their price guides are insane. Their premium content, which is their example for this, is Nicotero Leatherface, which is the Leatherface nobody wants from, I think, the Netflix version or whatever that everybody thinks is a shit movie. I'm not a horror guy, so I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty sure nobody wants this. $15.99 for just that character. For normal baseline new characters, for victims and family, they will be $9.99 per. Executions, so different executions for the family members, will be $6.99 per. Cosmetics, which would be clothing and weapons, will be $4.99 per, and then free content will be free, which is maps, etc. Yeah.
I definitely thought you were gonna say free content was gonna be like $1.90 or something like that. I was just bracing myself for the stupidity of that.
This came from Jason. Jason actually then also posted on our Discord feed. Somebody did a mock up, but it was like a joke one, and it was crossplays $15.99. Instant Ready Lobby, $9.99. Sissy Songs, $6.99. And Shout Out from Devs, $4.99. And then it was like free content, menus and settings, etc. free. Yeah, the pricing is insane to me. We do live in a games as a service world, but I think that this is an outrageous violation. I would be actually okay with this pricing if it was a free to play game. If it was like, hey, free to play, but we're going to charge this much per character. Okay, I got you. That's where you're going to make your money. But this isn't free to play. This is $40. $40 game, base game, with tons of bugs to where they've taken away crossplay. They're still doing tons of balancing issues. And you can actually go on to Reddit. They're still having serious issues just in general with what the game is quality-wise to their people. Like, they haven't gotten it a base level quality. And then they released this pricing guide, which is just dumb as shit. I really had fun with Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I was playing with my buddies online. Really had fun with it. They took that away from me, which pissed me off. But now they've done this, and I just don't know. Like, fun gameplay does not overwrite how shitty this pricing is. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I almost wish, like, as much as we bitch about it, like the whole. I wish they would have just done the thing to where you buy premium currency, but you can't just buy a flat amount and get what you need and have none left over.
Right.
Like, it's like they're just skipping that step.
Yeah.
And saying well, instead of spending $4 and then $2 to buy everything, and then you'll have a couple credits left over or whatever, just give us the money. Like,
What bothers me also is that with the exception of the licensed characters in Dead by Daylight, you can actually earn in-game currency. Hey, it takes forever. I'm not going to say that grind isn't a real fucking butt fuck, okay? It's real long and hard, but it is, in fact, a way to earn that in-game currency to where you can get new characters. Because I've gotten new characters via playing the game and earning it. Texas Chainsaw, as far as I can tell so far, has no way of doing that. It is spend the money, buy the characters, or fuck off. And that also is, I think, the biggest egregious sin here. You know what I mean? These games, all of these multiplayer games, would be For Honor, Call of Duty, all of them, they all have some way, well, most of them have some way to earn that premium currency through a ton of grinding, to where it lessens the blow of making these things priced. You know what I mean?
Right.
With this, there's no way for that. It's just you pay or you go away, and that's not. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think that people would be much more willing to accept this if it was like, these are the prices, but also if you play a ton, you might be able to earn a character every month or so. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they don't do that, and that's not cool. Not cool at all. But that's it for fan traction. We only had one fan. I don't think everybody liked. I don't think anybody really likes it when it's just a Zach lonely show.
I mean, you also gave it a name. The cheese stands alone. Like, I think people were confused.
Well, the cheese did stand alone. I am the cheese, and I stood very alone. All right, guys. So we are going to talk about the Xbox links today. Xbox had a massive leak that basically came out of the FTC trials. I believe this was all like secondary FTC leaks, which in a lot of way they're not leaks, because almost all of this shit is just for everybody out there. I want to let you guys all in on a little secret. Anything that is filed in a courtroom, unless it is specifically sealed by the federal government or it is in direct relation to a minor, you can just go online and look it up. Like, that's how LawTube gets their shit, man. Like everything, like your mortgage is online right now. I can go to the website, I can look at your mortgage. You know what I mean? Like, it's public record. People don't realize that. They think things are much more like, I guess, private than they actually are. But
that's one thing I learned when I bought a house.
Yeah, it's all online. You just go, you find it, there it is. That's it. So all of this stuff was somewhere in a court document. You know what I mean? Like, it was gonna come out because all of this stuff comes from like the can't remember what the process is called in a legal thing. The discovery. It's all because of discovery. It all gets put into exhibits, and then it becomes a courtroom document, which becomes filed, and then bam, you can go find it. So, like, it's not like it wasn't public already. So I think that this would have all come out anyway because of the trial, but we're going to get into some of it. We're going to talk about some of the crazier ones, have a little fun with this. But we're going to do this in a second. We'll be right back.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, let's get into our talking point. Xbox had a leak from the FTC trials.
Leaky.
We just talked about it. Most of it was, going to be public domain anyway, I think. But some real evil shit came out of this, too. Like, very, not even evil in the way that, we usually talk about evil. But I mean, evil empire stuff. Like, laughing
evil
about
empire.
the little guys stuff, But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So, what are we talking about first? The Dead by Daylight devs, or do we want to move on past that? I think we can move on past that.
I was just going to go from this list down.
Okay.
Starting with the Microsoft considered buying Nintendo.
Well, the first thing on the list was Dead by Daylight devs' new game is Fortnite meets... No. Never mind. I'm reading the wrong thing. You sent me the shittiest article. There's so many fucking American Express ads in here. And
I know.
Fucking penis ads and everything else in here, man. It's hard to find my place. They've got ads for fucking Kotaku.
It's Kotaku
sucks.
too. It's like
it's like
not even
they
some
suck.
like rando news thing. It's
they
like actual.
Suck.
It's like Kotaku.
Kotaku sucks, man. Reading an article on Kotaku is like, it's like Daily Motion. It's fucking bullshit. Consider Nintendo. Let's do it. Yeah.
So. Yeah, Phil Spencer wanted to buy Nintendo, and apparently they were also considering Valve and Warner Brothers as well when they were on their big old purchasing spree. The phrase was getting Nintendo would be a career moment, but apparently Nintendo it's not in this part of it because. I actually had this as one of my newsy bits for what would have happened last week. Apparently, Nintendo actively kind of laughed at them and said, we'll be fine.
I think it's really funny that you have Phil Spencer actually saying somewhere in an email that that Nintendo's future lies off of... that's one of the things that I want to point out from this. Nintendo's future lies off of their hardware, off of their own hardware. It's just taking Nintendo a really long time to realize that. And then it was like a long time smiley face. Like, what fucking weird fucking evil shit to say, man, when you're like... I think eventually they'll realize they suck. It's just taking them a long time.
It's like watching...
And then he took a puff of his stogie and drank his fucking whiskey and then pet his, completely white purebred cat. It's fucking weird shit to say, man.
It's akin to, a wealthy family member being on their deathbed and you're just like, once Nana goes, I'll buy a new car.
I think I also just want to say, side note, if you run a business, if you are running a business, whether it be at the highest level CEO of a Microsoft company or the smallest little dude running a small, let's say a TTRPG company, just between those, don't fucking use emojis in your business emails. Yeah. What is wrong with you, man? Smiley face? What are you, a fucking tween? What are you doing with your life, man? Jesus.
Well, this is also the man who shows up on stage in business, but
that's
a
fucking
t-shirt
plain.
Underneath.
I don't think he wears that in real life. I think that shit, anytime he's on camera, he's like, make sure I got that weird gamer casual look because that's his brand, man.
Air Jordans.
Oh yeah, when he's not on camera, he's wearing a fucking 3-piece suit made out of the skins of hookers. I do also want to say, just think about the fact that Microsoft has enough money to potentially consider purchasing Valve, Nintendo, and Warner Brothers. That's insane. I also want to point out a while ago, one of the things Xbox defended when this whole FTC thing started, one of their big defenses were, we can't use Microsoft money. We can only use Xbox money to do these purchases. And I said bullshit. This is definitive evidence that's bullshit, because there's no way Xbox alone has the money to potentially buy Valve. That's fucking nuts, man.
Right.
But so they're leveraging Microsoft money, and they always have been.
Yeah, they absolutely have to be, especially given the fact that the Steam Deck exists now. They're Valve is now a hardware manufacturer with that, and they're the VR thing that they have.
Right.
I'm blanking on the name right now. But yeah, they're a hardware manufacturer and a software game store, and in some very rare cases, publisher. They are basically effectively on par with. They're doing what Nintendo wants to do on Microsoft and Sony's level.
Yeah, and I think that is something people need to start taking stock in. Is Valve is just as big, if not bigger, than Xbox and Sony. And and again, so if Microsoft ever even consider, or Xbox ever even considered it, they're definitely spending Bill Gates's Papa Bill's money. There's no way they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next one on this list of fun little bits of information, Bethesda might be working on an Oblivion remaster, and I think that would be very interesting because for a number of years now, there's been a mod team making something. I think we have actually referenced it before.
Sky Oblivion.
Sky Oblivion, yes. I would not be surprised if, while, they're very friendly to the mod community, I think something like that would be targeted if they are actually doing an Oblivion remaster. Because while it's a different company, Nintendo did the same thing with the Metroid 2 remake fan project. Yep. Granted, Nintendo's really crazy about that stuff, but it was very suspicious timing that was targeted like a month before the Metroid 2 remake was announced.
Yeah. So here's the thing with this, right? The Sky Oblivion. Okay. First of all, just off topic, I think Oblivion getting a remaster would be interesting to me as a gamer, because Oblivion was one I could never really get into, and I feel like if they gave it a little bit more of that Skyrim juice, I could go back to it, maybe really enjoy it, or get some play out of it. Aside from that, one thing about the Bethesda mod community, compared to other games, yes, they are kind of friendly to their modding community. However, they are also very, very gatekeepy about what becomes official content and what is blocked from the mod store. I want to point out Skyrim Together. That's what it's called, right? Skyrim.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about
that.
They
blocked that. They will not allow that in their mod store, which means you have to go to Skyrim Together. You have to download the mod and do all of the setup stuff yourself. They can't actually put it in the Bethesda. They can't. They can't put it in the Bethesda mod server. So there are certain things that Bethesda has been very gatekeepy around, very put a kibosh on certain things like that. And while I'm not really read up on the whole blocking of the Skyrim Together thing, as to the reasons of it, I would not put it past them to do this. They definitely choose the mods they want on there in a lot of ways, and I think that it would be very easy for them to be like, yeah, Sky Oblivion's not happening. Buy our remaster. Which is ridiculous. Is completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I do think that, going back to the positive end of this,
sure.
I really do think that an Oblivion remaster would be very interesting. Because I know myself, I've talked at length with my, history with Elder Scrolls 4 and 5, and trying to go to Oblivion from Skyrim does not feel great.
Well, and what's crazy is, so I play with a group of guys. Sometimes they listen to the show. If you guys are listening, you know who you are. But they were huge Morrowind fans. And then Morrowind, they always say that Morrowind had the most freedom, and then it's slowly gotten less and less as they've released games, and that they didn't like Skyrim because it wasn't as free as Morrowind. I hated Morrowind, just hated the way it played. I hated certain things like the whole jumping to gain skill points, so you just had to jump everywhere, it was fucking stupid. There was a lot of things in it that I think systematically Skyrim was better refined than Morrowind. But I kind of see the perspective if there was more freedom in Morrowind. So what I'd like to see is remasters of maybe Morrowind and Oblivion. Don't take any of the content away, the freedom, but maybe refine those skills to be more like Skyrim, you know what I mean? So that those are a little bit more tight and logical while keeping just the rest of the game the way it is. so that I think that would bring me into it and get me much more involved. Plus, those games do not hold up graphically. Neither Oblivion and Morrowind look terrible. I've tried to go back to them a couple of times. And so I think that they're ripe for the remaster kind of like thing. I just hope that they don't just like give it a graphical update and stick it out there. I hope that they kind of like refine
same graphics but now in 4K. Yeah, like that's
I
that is the one like I hate that kind of remaster because you've done nothing with it. Like but there's of course a fine line between, well, at what point does it turn into a remake? Like,
right.
you know, and of course a remake, you know, it's got to be something that really is going to bring people in, something like, you know, Final Fantasy VII remake, like that is going to get that cult following and going to make sense to do. Well, Oblivion has a following.
It does. It has a huge following.
Is it going to be worth the quote unquote Bethesda development time that all of these things get now?
Yeah.
To be worth a full remake.
I think with a remake for Bethesda, what they'll probably do is it'll be one of those like 3-month like, hey, we're working on this and it's coming out in 3 months, you know?
Yeah.
I will also give Bethesda this. Okay? Their resales of their product, while I think it's shitty that basically every 2 years they repackage Skyrim and sell it to us, they have always managed to give us something new for that purchase price. Which yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of people who are like, come on, Zach. But, like, in fairness, the first time I bought it, I just bought the base game for 360. The second time I bought it, all the DLCs were included. The third time I bought it, all the DLCs were included, and I had all these mods that were extra. So, like, I feel like every time I've purchased the game, I've gotten a little bit more out of it. And they've never broken the $50 limit. So if you brought Oblivion, right? If you took Oblivion and you gave it a graphical update, so that it's into this era, maybe kind of refine some of the controls a little bit, refined a little bit of the character creation, that sort of thing. You brought it into this era a little bit, and you packaged all the DLC with it. I could understand a $40 or $50 price tag. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Same thing with Morrowind. Do that, and then you might get me back in. And I think those would be big boons for Game Pass. They would be easy wins.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wins. You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, so this one is, we've talked about this a lot, and oh hot damn is this one on point.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer at one point mentioned that AAA game developers have lost their mojo overall. More so stating that they're slow to react to like the disruption of these digital storefronts that allow for things like indies to take over, which is absolutely true. The indies that we've talked about before, indies are now setting the pace overall for the AAA space. The AAA games are now trying to chase all of the trends or are bringing back franchises that have been given the spiritual successor treatment over on the indie side.
Yeah. I think that, like, again, we are heading towards a collapse of the AAA. And really, it's not going to be like the pillars went and the walls of Jericho came tumbling down sort of situation. It's not a bang. It's a whimper. And what is going to end up happening with this is just slowly you're going to see AA and single A, which we're already seeing getting more and more traction in the public eye and the media eye, while AAA games just keep getting shit of like loot boxes, microtransactions, bad graphics, bad Switch versions, servers are down, just over and over and over again, to the point where we're going to end up seeing that, like, I mean, AAA spends too much money. Period. They spend too much money on themselves. There's no regulation on them whatsoever, so they spend too much money on these games. They try to do too much with them. And then they literally cannot make enough to get out of them what they need to. You know what I mean? So, and you've already seen a ton of these companies, like Embracer just laid off a bunch of people because of that insane deal falling through with the Saudi Arabian government. Like Like, that's insane to me. Like, that's the level of psychos that we've got going on. And this is a company that just bought 5 studios. Like, there's no anything. There's just everybody's flying by the seat of their pants, and they're spending so much money. And they're trying to do so much that they don't need to do. You know? Like, you look at the most popular games last year. None of them are, like, graphically the greatest. Like, except possibly Starfield. Starfield was very popular, but I would also say that Starfield came with a lot of mixed reactions to it. You know, it's not like it didn't have its fair share of bugs and its fair share of downsides. You know, I don't like how they brought this game out, but Tears of the Kingdom is probably going to be one of the big contenders for Game of the Year. That's not that graphically appealing. Like, it's fine, it's pretty, but it's not like going to blow your fucking mind. And Nintendo didn't spend too much on it. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, these companies are spending too much on it. Like, my game of the year still stands at Remnant 2. Remnant 2 is just a simple, straightforward game with decent graphics that does what it needs to do. You know? Hell, Dave the Diver's in the conversation. And it's a 2D sprite game about a fat guy who fishes and makes a sushi shop. You know, like, it's... These AAA companies are just sitting there with the woulda instead of shoulda sort of mentality, you know?
I think the crux of all this really comes down to, in this article here that we're looking at on it, there's 2 parts to this of the quotes. The second part of it is that basically all the publishers now are leveraging these $200 to $300 million productions to keep afloat. Mm-hmm. And that's really where everything is. Like, the problem with everything is, instead of, you know, trying to spend $300 million to make this massive game that you have to support for a ridiculous amount of time to be able to try to make your money back on it in the end.
Right.
And hoping and praying that you make, you know, at least, you know, $350 million. Mm-hmm. You could have a game that's just an experiment, or like a dude with an idea, or a small team with an idea that, let's say, spends $50,000 to make a game overall.
Right.
You slap it up on sale, and it turns out to be, God forbid, a quality product.
Right.
And it takes off like fucking wildfire because good word of mouth, you know, gets things that. That's how I found out about Pizza Tower.
Yeah.
Pizza Tower's a small team. Yeah, development
Another
on
one
it.
That would be in the conversation, I think, at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I haven't played it in a hot minute, but I mean, it's fucking fantastic. And again, another example of the third party bringing back something that was a hit a while ago that people want more of in the Wario Land games, but nobody's doing it. So, hey, we're going to have these people do it. And holy shit, there's an appetite. It's almost as if the companies should listen to what people want. Now, of course, that's a loaded thing because, you know, we can sit here all day and say, oh, well, you know, the fans want this, the fans want this, the fans want this. And then, okay, well, here it is. And then if they don't buy it, then, you know, well, we never get one ever again, you know.
Right.
So, I mean, it's easier said than done. It's a more nuanced conversation. But that's
it is a more nuanced conversation. I don't know how much time we can spend on this. I think one thing I do want to add is I find it funny that Phil Spencer's kind of calling the pot, you know, black while he's the kettle. I think the how many times has Microsoft, like, failed to accomplish their goals in AAA market? I mean, they're probably one of the biggest. They've got, like, the biggest failure track record in the last 10 years when it comes to, like, big AAA development companies. I will say, I don't know that I necessarily... I agree with you on the appetite thing, but I think that, like, more than that, if you just sit down and you think about what a game needs to be to exist and what you want to do with it, and you make it a quality game, it's going to find an audience. It's going to find an audience, and people are going to enjoy it. I mean, 100% of the time, probably not. There'll probably be a miss here and there, but still, like, sit down, make a quality game. Don't worry about, like, well, does every leaf on the tree fucking move? Like, you don't need that. You just need to create a game that people enjoy. You need to create a good, decent product. Concentrate on that without overreaching. And these companies just don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So on to the next one there, Neil. Lead us, oh god.
Yeah, so the next one here, Microsoft expected a Red Dead Redemption 2 next-gen refresh. Not only did they not get that, they got a repackage of Red Dead Redemption,
right?
With nothing other than barely a fresh coat of paint on it, with a full a $50 price tag on it.
Yeah.
Hilarious. That's
just a complete side note. Rockstar, why the fuck did you even bother? Like, I don't understand what they have done with Red Dead Redemption 2. So you release this game, critically acclaimed, player base acclaimed, everybody loved it, and then you kill it. You basically slowly kill it. You never release any real DLC for it. You do the online mode, and you never really add anything good to it. So you kill that. You kill development for it. Even though there's an entire movement on Twitter to get you to put more stuff into it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, you just keep hedging your bets on GTA 5. And then, when the time comes to at least just refresh it for the next gen, you do the first game. Why the fuck did you even bother making Red Dead Redemption 2? I'm so pissed about that, because I loved Red Dead Online. I loved playing it with my friends, and there just wasn't anything to do, and they just never added anything. And it's just one of the biggest irritating things. Like, I don't understand why Rockstar even bothered making the game in the first place at this point.
I think, now, this is just my own personal opinion, and I don't know as if others would agree with it. But I almost wonder if Red Dead Redemption 2 was made existing. They tried to make the online component and Red Dead Redemption 2 be one and the same, meant to be a single solitary package, but couldn't push it together, and just decided that they were just going to, like, well, this is just a single player game. It's like the standard live service, of, well, this isn't taking off real quick and not making millions of dollars like that. So, yeah, we're done.
The problem with it is they didn't even put enough ways for people to make money off of it. You know what I mean? There was, like, you could buy some gold stacks in it, but, like some premium currency, but, like, they didn't put anything in it to even bring anybody in. Like, to the point where there's tons of people who were playing it. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't make any sense, like, at all to me. But we can move on.
Speaking of things that do make sense, but this headline is very deceptive as a part of this. So 3/4 of Xbox gamers had an Xbox Series S.
Yeah.
What is very deceptive about this, what I feel, because it kind of gives it away in the second part of it, only it said 74.8% of Xbox Series owners had an S. However, about a year later, the split was 50-50. It's because the Series S was a weaker console. Nobody could get the X, so they just bought the S to say, to heck with it, at least I got that.
Yep.
Now that the X's are available, they want them, because we'll kind of smooth slide right into the next one on this, because it's related. That Microsoft underestimated Baldur's Gate 3 so much so that they were dead set. They swore up and down parity between the S and the X. There is no superior console. They could not get split screen working on the Series S. So much so that game made them break that promise. It is a much more underpowered console. It's not a bad console, but it's not aimed at rather, it is aimed at a very particular group or type of gamer. It is somebody who has kids. It is somebody who, and Series S is not their primary console. It is somebody who really just plays games on Game Pass occasionally. They're not people who buy discs. They're not people who care about having a ton of different games all at once because it's got a small hard drive on it. Even with the refresh of the console that they're doing here with the 1 terabyte storage on that, it's not going to move units because for an extra, $100, you can get the superior console.
Right. I love what they said about Baldur's Gate 3, too. A second-run Stadia PC RPG.
Second rate. Boy, that aged like fine cheese in the sun.
How's that shit taste in your mouth, Phil? How's that just let that kind of just waft around in your mouth, really get a mouthfeel for that peanutty shit that you are eating right now. I do want to say, in their defense, everybody underestimated Baldur's Gate 3 to the point where AAA developers scrambled to bash it as being too good.
Right.
Like nobody expected Baldur's Gate 3 to be what it was, which is funny to me. That also shows the arrogance and stupidity of AAA developers. They truly believe what they have is the best, period. Nothing to be touched, because they think that it's all about graphics and ray tracing and all that shit, and it just isn't, guys. And I'm not going to say Baldur's Gate 3 isn't a beautiful fucking game. It is. But, like, really, at the end of the day, make a quality product and the rest follows, you know?
So the next one, there's an argument for this one for sure. Phil Spencer wasn't impressed by the PS5 reveal. I think, it was. I think it was done kind of strangely with how they revealed it. They just announced more games and then was like, "Hey, by the way, here, this is the price on it," and that was about it. Phil Spencer described the Xbox Series X/S line as a better product than what Sony has, not just on hardware, but but equally important in the software platform and services. Services, okay, I'll give you that. Software, there's definitely an argument to be made because that's been the running joke now for the past few years, is Microsoft has nothing first party that's really taken off. Starfield's been the last thing that's come out in the past few years that's been like, oh, I guess there is a reason to have an Xbox console. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, the waters have definitely been muddied, but at the same time, Phil Spencer has also kind of moved away from their messaging over with the Xbox as a whole, like that it's going to be an evolving platform, that, you know, the series line is like the line of consoles, and we're not going to, do any special which way about anything, and there's going to have parity across the board, which we just talked about is not going to be a thing.
And walked away, yeah. So we don't have to spend too much time on this. I will say that I stand by what I said when these consoles were first revealed. I do think Xbox Series X, objectively, apart from all the evil bullshit from either company on all the other stuff, objectively, Xbox Series X is a better system. It is. I think that, like, the offerings that PlayStation 5 have given us have not been great, especially since they had to walk back the whole it can only play on PlayStation 5 thing and put it on a PlayStation 4 anyway in a lot of cases. I think that, like, that kind of defeats the software argument a little bit. I hear what you're saying about the first party thing, but I think that, like, the whole walking it back thing hurts them more than helps them. I think Game Pass, that's the reason you have an Xbox console. Game Pass, highest value. As much as I hate to say it, highest valued thing in gaming right now. And then as far as hardware, yeah, I've always said X kind of blows PlayStation out of the water. And aesthetically, PlayStation 5 is a gaudy piece of shit, man. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's the ugliest fucking console in the history of video game consoles. Say possibly the PlayStation 3. That fucker was ugly. Like, OG PlayStation 3 was disgusting.
Oh, yeah, it was.
This thing is gaudy, ugly shitbox. So, yeah, I think the Series X objectively is a better system. What they've done with it, what's come out on it, I don't know. But the whole line about him not being impressed about it, it's kind of silly to bring this out as a big thing, in my opinion, because, like, you're going up against another company and revealing, and you're talking internally to your people. Why would you say, hey, our shit is shit? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you're talking to your troops. You're not going to tell them you're going to lose the battle. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I feel like
absolutely.
I feel like this is saber rattling. I don't necessarily feel like this is true line indicative of what like we should really be talking. I feel like if you were looking at the emails on the PlayStation side, they'd say the same goddamn thing. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. So this next one, I mean, I was never a fan of the series, so I didn't really know a whole heck of a lot about it. And honestly, until I read this here, was like, oh wow, really? So I guess, what's it called? Like a Dragon. Accidentally kind of like, not like accident, like, oops, here's an Xbox version, but they got an Xbox version of that game due to a weird exclusivity agreement regionally. I think it's hilarious that like that something like that can happen.
What I think's so funny too is it opened the door for them to get a ton of other Yakuza games that are now basically on there.
Yeah, that's true.
And Like the Dragon is one that I've considered multiple times. I just can't deal with tons of huge story cutscenes, and Yakuza has just tons of ridiculous cutscenes
of your whole fucking existence.
Like the turn-based play looks so much fun for the combat. It just looks cool every time I've seen a video. But then it's like one 10-minute cutscene. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I gotta do something else. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting, but yeah.
So, moving on, talking about weird, gaudy shit. Not sure how accurate this mock-up is here, but apparently there's a lot of information about Brooklyn, codename Brooklyn. It's their new Series X refresh.
Yeah.
Now, Project Keystone was also mentioned in this stuff too, but Keystone was the one that we knew about that got canceled about, it was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
That was like the tiny streaming only console.
Yeah.
So Project Brooklyn, from what it looks like, it's going to be USB Type-C, same price, Wi-Fi 6E, basically beefed up in the networking and performance from the network and performance standpoints with lower power draw. But the most important thing about this is it's going to be completely all digital. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do that with the Series S refresh and give it the whole specs of the X.
Yeah.
Because again, like we were just mentioning, like for an extra $100, you can get a Series X anyways. It just has a disk drive in it.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing that? And coupled with that, we'll just slide on to the other one here that's associated with it, a new Xbox controller with a rechargeable battery, thanks sweet God, built into it standard. But there's some interesting other stuff with it. Apparently, it's going to have lift to wake. So, like when you pick up the controller, it like wakes the controller up. So there's no like booting up of the controller. I know sometimes even with my Series X, I'll press and hold the button, and I'll have to hold it for like 3 to 5 seconds before it cuts on, and then realizes, oh hey, we should probably turn the Xbox on now. And it also would have direct to cloud streaming, so you can effectively connect this controller to your Wi-Fi, basically, or to the device that you're streaming cloud gaming with, which would reopen the door to their all-cloud future. The one thing, though, that I really hope they don't do, I really hope they don't keep this dumbass half white, half black. Like, they dipped it in a vat of paint and was like, I changed my mind, and just pulled it out partway through.
Yeah, so on both of these, first of all, the Series X refresh going all digital. Look, we're at all digital. We don't need games anymore. I hate to be this guy. There's no trade market for it anymore. GameStop doesn't give you shit, and GameStop is a crazy company anyway. There's no real value to having the games, especially since every one of them require internet, and they require a day one patch to play in the first place. So like, there's just no reason for us to have digital copies anymore. It sucks. I'm a 42-year-old man. I come from an age where all the games I own, I have a chest behind me with a ton of PlayStation 1, 2, Nintendo 64, Nintendo, Sega games in there that I love. But we're just past it. We're past it. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that has gone away, and it's fine. It's not something I love that it's gone, but really the market for the big reason to have the physical is that it gives you that value. There's no value to them anymore. Anyway, they only cost people extra money at this point, and I just we don't need it. So I get that. The Xbox controller, the only thing I'll say about it, I do not want lift to wake on anything, because I don't want any sort of automatic wake to any of my things ever. Because you want to know why? I have a dog. It will bump the table. The Xbox will turn on. I have a fucking kid who will pick it up. The Xbox will turn on. I might bump the thing and the Xbox turns on. I don't want my shit randomly turning on. Right now, I have an Xbox One upstairs. OG Xbox One. Once a day, it turns on for no reason. No reason. There's no controller hookup to it. There's no way for anybody to press the button. I'll just go up there. It's just on. Why is this on? I'm the only one home, and I'm not upstairs. What the fuck? We'll just be sitting there. She'll be on the couch. I'm here. We don't have a Kinect, by the way. Want to point that out, too. And it'll just boop, boop, and just turn on. What the fuck, man? I don't want anything to automatically turn on ever.
So, and that's one thing I know I dealt with a lot with our Xbox One. My one cat, this beautiful bean right here, would constantly, she realized that it was touch sensitive. I shit you not, I make no exaggerations. Would boop her nose on it to turn it on and knew where the eject button was. I remember specifically one time I bought Doom 2016, had it in the console. I came home from work one day and I cut the Xbox on and I tried to play the game and it said the disc wasn't in there. What the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, there's no way it wasn't in there. I was looking around. I found it under the bed and I found her right there with it. She had picked it up, pulled it right out of the thing, and went away with it. It is actually the reason why we bought our Xbox One S. That is the actual reason why we bought our Xbox One S, because it was a physical button. So, yeah, lift awake, same situation. Yeah. My dogs are absolute chaos.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to be turning the console on.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'll point out the last one, which is the Microsoft, because it kind of goes right into what we've been talking about. Microsoft sees its next Xbox as a cloud hybrid machine. I do want to talk on this. I think cloud gaming is starting to get bigger now, and I'm not going to say it's the worst thing ever, but I'm going to say this right now. We are not technologically at a point that cloud-based gaming can be the only thing. We just aren't. You have to have direct downloads. You have to be playing it off your hardware to really get good service in some way, shape, or form. Even with Steam Link, you're playing it off your computer. You know what I mean? And it's streaming to your phone. You can't do the cloud-based stuff like solo by itself. And listen to me. I just said up top, digital's what it is now, and like I'm not somebody who's not going to change with the times. It's just we're not there. We're not there. So this has to have at least direct download to it. Otherwise, it's a terrible way of doing things. You know what I mean?
So, I mean, of course, I'll absolutely agree with all of that. That said, I think this is referring to what it was that they were trying to do before. You remember back when Crackdown 3 was announced and they were talking about leveraging the power of the cloud to make all environments destructible and everything like that. I think this is more so what they're talking about, but that's the thing. Even this article calls it out, like that they wanted to use the cloud to leverage, the power of, the cloud to like make games better. And it even says, where have I heard that before?
Right.
Because that's exactly what they were talking about doing. And it really turned out to be a whole lot of nothing overall, this to like what it actually brought to the game overall. I think that's something that was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I think this here would be decent, but going back to the overall cloud conversation, we do not have the infrastructure to have people play games that rely on that internet connection, on that quick cloud connection, to be able to like have things happen in real time.
There's too many things on Wi-Fi. There's too many things. My kid tried to play. I got her Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. She literally couldn't play anything on the cloud-based gaming because our Wi-Fi isn't good enough. I think that no matter what, you have this, and it's not even because of the computer. The computer has the Wi-Fi that it could do. It's just you just can't transfer that much data that fast.
No.
It was like a, I want to say it was something like a 20-second lag input delay every time she played a game. She couldn't play it. Like, she's 7. She was just screaming at it the whole time. So, I think that, we're just not there. Until cloud-based gaming can work on Wi-Fi, it's just not there,
Yeah, and that's an important distinction, too, because even, with a hardline cable, with a hardline cable, for what I pay for my internet, I should have 500 meg down.
Right.
When I connect on my computer, I get those speeds because I have my direct line going straight into my modem.
Yep.
But I have a mesh network in my house.
Yep.
It's decent. I can pull okay speeds, but at the same time, like you mentioned, when you consider things like interference from other devices, what all's on the network, wireless being inherently a slower connection speed one way or another, if you don't have that hard wire, you straight up just can't. You can't start alienating people because they tried this before when they had that dumb online-only requirement for the Xbox One. And, of course, the line at that point in time is, what do the people do who don't have a good internet connection? Oh, well, we have a console for them. It's called the Xbox 360. It's tone deaf, and it's idiotic. This type of jump you can't make too quick.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be just like they did before, to where they're trying to move too fast all at once. People aren't ready for it. Well, there is a future for it, just not yet.
There is a future for it, just not yet. But, I mean, you look at the country as a whole's infrastructure, and I don't like to get into political stuff, but, I mean, everybody out there knows that, prices are going up, not down. It's harder to get basic, things that you need.
Everybody knows you only have one or two choices.
Right. I mean, fuck. Taco Bell costs $50 now. Since when does Taco Bell cost $50? It's that kind of thing.
Damn, how much Taco Bell you getting?
Oh, for one family.
That's fair.
I mean, it's still more expensive. You know what I mean? I think that, don't call me fat on my show, you son of a bitch.
On your birthday.
On your
birthday of all days. It's his birthday.
It is my birthday.
Yeah,
you haven't actually
wish
said
him
that
a happy
show.
birthday.
But yeah, I think that everything's going up. So we're not looking at a future where, and just like you said, there's two companies. They're both shit, and they both are kind of together in their way of railroading you into shittier speeds than they necessarily need to give you. Internet is not going to be affordable anytime soon. The kind of internet required to cloud-based game on the reg is not going to be affordable in any way, shape, or form anytime soon. And until it is on a widespread, it's not going to happen. There is also another fucking console that tried this shit. Stadia. It's dead and it's gone. Did we all forget about that? Somebody tried that. So yeah, I think that leveraging cloud-based stuff is one thing, but making a console require cloud-based anything is going to put you in trouble in the future.
Absolutely.
So that's it. That's it for the talking point, right?
That's it for the talking point.
All right. Well, let's head into the news then. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our final segment, the news. This is where we take news headlines we want to tell you about, we want to riff about, we want to talk about. We just let you know what they are. I have 2. Neil has 2. So who should go first? I guess you should go first since you missed last week.
Okay. So, I think one of the biggest ones, the biggest bits, and I would be surprised if you didn't put this on here on your list, unless you were expecting me to have it. Jim Ryan stepping down over at PlayStation.
I did not put that on my list. I did expect you to have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan is finally stepping down. I believe it is time next year, I think it was, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I didn't save that part of the article, but yeah, he's moving on to other things. I think it's interesting that now is the time that is happening. I almost wonder if he's just fucking burnt out from the whole dumbass Microsoft stuff that's been going on.
I think so. I mean, you add in their own dumbass stuff, and it's
That's
compound
true, yeah.
dumbass menagerie that maybe the dude just needs a fucking vacation, you know?
I don't blame him. I mean, honestly, everything that's been going on with that whole thing is part of the reason why we changed the format a bit of what we do. So,
yes, that is 100%.
And we're just 2 schmucks in a basement.
Yeah, like I had too much, and we're 2 schmucks in a basement. Yeah, I think that like it has been absolutely ridiculous, especially since Microsoft has won. Like, basically.
At this point, basically.
They've basically won, which means they can just buy anybody from here on out. All right, so my first one is going to be Bethesda did actually surprise release a new game in the Elder Scrolls.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
So, I don't know if you guys ever saw the mobile game Fallout Shelter. Basically what it was for Fallout, you ran like a Fallout vault. And it was kind of like a management sim sort of thing. It's just a dorky little game. But a lot of people really liked it. A lot of people really loved it. Well, they've released one for Elder Scrolls. And I don't remember what it's called, which is sad, because that's what I'm supposed to be announcing right now. But if you look up Elder Scrolls on your mobile device, they've released a Fallout Shelter-esque sort of game for Elder Scrolls, which, cool, I guess. I'm sure everybody who's been waiting for Elder Scrolls 6 for the last fucking 20 years of their lives will be super happy with the small carbon copy of another game, mobile game that they made.
I mean, at least it hopefully is received better than Elder Scrolls Blades. That I honestly literally had not thought about in actual years until you just brought this up.
Yeah, Blades. Blades was a nightmare. I was excited for Blades.
Yeah, they were hyping it up. It's like, hey guys, it's a real Elder Scrolls game. It's not some little, play around, make believe, junk, trashy, mobile game, and that's what it was. So,
your turn.
So yeah, my next one. This one is just, I just think this is hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So GameStop has an official brand new CEO. And have you seen this?
Yeah, of course I've seen this. And we actually talked about the brand new CEO when it went in July or 20th, or I think it's July or June.
It gets so much better. So Ryan Cohen, it's like he was like in the running. He was like a board member and everything. Or like when we talked about him last, he was talking about like fucking weird like iPhone changing the charge port, and it's like that's why video games need physical copies still. Like please come spend money at our stores. So Ryan Cohen, he's been officially named as the new CEO of GameStop. However, he's getting no compensation for the position. And it's not like oh wow, he's barely getting paid. No, he's literally receiving $0 with no compensation at all. No bonuses, no stock options, nothing. This guy is just like this is a hobby. It's what it is. It's just a hobby.
And
it's
he's also, he's also the founder and director of Chewy, the online dog food ordering stuff.
I know one of the other guys was. I can't remember the Chewy guy.
I'm positive it's the Chewy guy because somebody stepped down and the Chewy guy took over as like CEO or president or something.
Right. Let me just double check here.
Because that's what we talked about, was like he got like put in like July or June, and then now he's actually the president.
All right. Well, my phone is deciding to not work right now, which is great.
I just love the idea that like the GameStop people are also the Chewy people. Would you like Call of Duty? Would you also like 3 pounds of dog food with that? Can we start?
Yeah, he was the Chewy guy.
I told you. He's still the Chewy guy. He's running both companies, man.
Yeah.
And what's even funnier to me, I want GameStop to start selling dog supplies. Like, so bad. I want that to be the next story. That, like, GameStop also is the only storefront for Chewy.
Oh, and okay, so just because we're talking about this,
sure.
And I just looked this up here. So in my looking this up, one of the first news headlines on this was from CNBC. GameStop survival demands on, quote, extreme frugality, Ryan Cohen tells employees. In the note, which was obtained by CNBC, Cohen emphasized the company will have to avoid common industry pitfalls, such as buying bad inventory, which is like 90% of what games are now. Using leverage, which is like, I mean, what the fuck leverage? Are you going to leverage when nobody comes in to buy anything in the first place? And running expenses too high. I can only imagine that means one single at a store at any time, or they turn the lights off when there's no customers. Oh, what else do you do? What else do you do?
I don't understand how there's GameStops anymore. Like after the years that we have had on this show talking about this company, I don't know how it exists anymore. Like, it's the most craziest thing. My last one's just a funny one. Right now, until they've managed to patch it, which as of today, from everything I've seen, they have not, it is strategically better for the first time in a fighting game to play player 1. In MK1, the new MK, there is a bug or a glitch or something where, as player 1, you actually attack like a half frame second faster than player 2.
Oh, that is trash.
Yeah.
Not only so
this is in addition to the Switch stuff. They have come to realize that like there's a player, if you're playing player 1, you have a statistical advantage than player 2.
So what is messed up about that too, as somebody who's pretty into fighting games?
You're a fighting game guy.
Is not only is there an advantage in that you get a frame advantage on things that you are, wanting to do, trying to do, anything like that, that also counts towards, iframes, counter frames, stuff like that. But that also means that whoever is playing player 2, who is aware of that information, has to take that into consideration when they look at everything that they are also going to do to counteract other things.
Yep.
Which, granted, I haven't gotten a lot of time with Street Fighter 6. I at least got to play it for like 20 minutes finally, but that's beside the point. In Street Fighter 4 especially, it was entirely possible for when you did an ultimate move, you could input your command to do your ultimate move after the other person input theirs.
Okay.
So with that bit of information, you could absolutely time it to where they do theirs, but if you were the one that went second, unless that first person's was a counter ultimate, you were going to get it no matter what. That was something that was never addressed, weirdly enough.
Right.
Which
I think
is beyond
they addressed it in 6. Oh, I remember.
I was going to say, I'm sure they've addressed it since. Yeah, so yeah, they've got like V skills and like your supers now, because in 4 it was more like when you take so much damage, it's like a revenge thing. So it was a little bit different. So it was probably skewed to be something like that.
Right.
But yeah, that throws the meta of the game off so much. And that's something that they absolutely need to fix, especially before they start running tournaments with Mortal Kombat 1, because they physically cannot at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's it for the news then. Do you have one more?
No,
that's it, right? All right, guys. That's it. Nice, easy news today. Nice, easy news. So we're going to do our plugs, and then we're going to go to sleep.
Yeah.
That's not entirely true. I'm going to edit this. So Neil's going to go to sleep. I'm going to work for another hour.
I think football is still happening upstairs. So I don't know if I'm going to bed just yet.
You got to find out if you're winning.
Oh, I am. Oh, I already know I am.
I hate you for that. So, and I don't even like football.
Fantasy corner. Tiny fantasy football corner. Last week, I did actually lose. I think it's because I tried to, I was Icarus who flew too close to the sun, and I won 2 in a row. So I'm like, I know what I'm doing now. Strategic choices that did not pay off. So I just went back to my number go up strategy. And I don't have to pay attention halfway through the 1 o'clock game. I had already won for the week, so I'm cool.
Oh my god, I would find you and hurt you. I hate you for them, man. That's just the worst.
I'm gonna be 3-1 now on the week. There's only one person doing better than me, right?
Why didn't Kayla warn them, man? Why didn't Kayla warn them about the Neil glow of accomplishing games?
After we did the
never
draft,
rolls bad.
That was the thing, is after we did the draft, people were like, oh, what do you do? Wow, that's crazy. And Kayla's like, you can't have him play a game with you, because he's going to take it too serious and he's going to figure out way too much, even if he doesn't know anything about what's going on.
All right. We'll be right back with the plugs, guys.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, would you like to plug anything?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had been doing
lots of
Redfall.
A lot of words there.
That was a lot of words. Had been doing Redfall. The reason that I stumbled was because I realized I didn't update my calendar to put it on it, because we have to do more recordings here soon.
Yes.
We did skip out last time due to some conflict of scheduling and abilities and whatnot.
Yes.
But we are going to be recording some more of that hot pile of shit. And I was actually weirdly thinking about it the other day. Just because I realized we have not done anything outside of getting into the new area from the absolute stupid shit that we had to do to get there in the first place.
We have got to get this game done so that I could get it off my fucking hard drive. So bad. That thing takes up 70 gigs.
Especially now that Party Animals has launched, and I feel like that might be one that we could do.
I think the 3 of us playing Payday would be really fun.
That would be interesting too.
I think that would be so much fun for the 3 of us to play Payday. But yeah, we're stuck in this fucking hellscape.
That's the problem when you make commitments. You have to follow through with them.
Yes. I'm hoping we're at least nearing the conclusion. We're
nearing the halfway point.
Oh, God. But yeah, that will be coming back probably this Saturday. I can't 100% say that, but I think so. As far as me, I have a big plug. You guys, some of you know this, some of you don't. For those who don't, I also run a very, very small tabletop role-playing game company called Axiom Games, LLC. We've released 2 games to date, but we are about to release our biggest game yet. It is called Single Mod. The system is the game is done. We are going to be releasing that on itch.io for only $6. $6. If you go to itch on the day of release and just put Single Mod in the search bar, our game comes up. So please check it out if you are in any way, shape, or form a tabletop role-playing game person. I would really appreciate it. And again, it's only $6. Only $6 for the entire base system. There's no world with it. You got to kind of create your own world, but Very excited to release this. And that will be released on the 9th. The 9th of October is when that is coming out. So, so the 9th. It's Monday the 9th. It will be released. So please check that out. Please purchase it if it does interest you. I will also be doing on this channel a couple of like tutorial dives on the system, just so that people can kind of like have some how-to guides. I think this week I'm going to try and put out one on just the basics of character creation and stuff like that. So please check those out if you're not on the fence.
Is this not the system that you use for Astral Drive?
This is the system I use for Astral Drive. We stream that here. Thank you for parody. We do also do an actual play here every other Wednesday. Myself, Wizard's Respite, Phil Billy 330, and Aether Dios. We play Astral Drive. That is actually the system that we are releasing finally. We're not releasing Astral Drive, the actual setting piece, but we're releasing the system for it. So again, only $6 for the system. And if you're on the fence about it, watch the videos that I release in the next couple of weeks. It's good. The first one's going to come out before it, and then I'm going to kind of release videos for the next few weeks after it. So check those out. I would really appreciate it if it's something that sounds cool to you. It is, again, we're doing things differently this time. It's digital only, $6 for a PDF, and then it just downloads to your computer and you have it, and you can play it. Yay.
Well, you, sir, will have my $6.
Oh, you're a sweetheart, Neil. You're a sweetheart, Neil. A sweet man, yar. I would love, when you do download it and you read it, I want your opinion of what you think of the system, because Neil actually has not played this one. I think this is one of... Upper Hand he played. He did not get to play test this one with me. So I would love to hear your opinion on it. And maybe it'll be one that pulls you from D&D slightly. We'll see. Other than that, we can also, I think, at this point announce that as far as TTRPG stuff, we will be doing a one-off with Neil here. I'm kind of surprised he didn't do it. And his lovely wife, Kayla, the third member of our Lasso 3, we're actually been game mastered by Wizard's Respite in a one-off of Sunfish sitting there. And just from character creation, it's going to be a doozy, guys.
Oh, this is going to be fucking great.
It's a role-playing heavy one-shot where just 3 people are going to go see like a fucking an eclipse, I think. We're going to go to a place to see an eclipse. They're very different people, and it's going to be a train wreck, so I'm really excited about that. That's October 12th.
This very well could be an Odd Couple sitcom.
It really should.
Odd
really
Couple
could.
situations.
I'm very excited about it. As far as gaming, there's plenty of other TTRPG stuff to check out. I don't want to only do that because this is the gaming half of our channel that I've dipped into our TTRPG stuff. But as far as gaming goes, OMGM just started its 3rd season. Really excited about that. That comes out every Thursday morning. And we also have Prelude to Divorce, playing Oregon Trail a fucking again with Melissa every Sunday. Yes, Red Fall Down, check that out as well. And then I have a couple of Snap Judgment reviews. I've been doing some good Snap Judgment reviews lately. Payday 3, I did that one. I've also did We Who Are About to Die. I did Starfield. I did Remnant 2. So you guys can check that out. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, you can also contact us on Facebook at Old Man Gaming. I said it wrong! Restart! We'll do it live. You guys can check us out on Facebook at Old Man Gaming DH, on Twitter at Old Man Gaming 9. You can join our Discord, links in the description below. Influence this and all of our shows from there. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as long as you keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. See you guys next time. Pause.
By the way, I listened to the Wizard's Respite on the D&D conversation because that was the one that I was waiting for you guys to do.
You had said that was the one you were waiting for. Yeah.
At the end, I was gonna type up this huge ass comment, and I was just like, you know what? I don't know if it's worth all the time because I had so many things to say, but honestly, what I would boil it down to, just to make the point as simple and concise as possible, you absolutely put a shit ton of work into it. There's no way that I can argue that, oh, there's a way to make it work with doing like 10 minutes of work. No, fuck that. Character creation takes like hours.
It's too much. It's too much.
Once you get through that part of it, at that point, the game lives and dies by the DM. What you do in it, how your experience, like even like the one thing, I forget which book it's in, because this is how, of course, internet actually I was gonna be with it. I remember there was one of the books that it straight up says like, this rule book is not to be followed to the T.
Right.
Make your own shit, and that's what I do. Like,
straight
up
and down. I think the real problem with debating anything like that is, at the end of the day, every role-playing game lives and dies by the GM, DM, whatever you call them, the person who's running the game. That's where it lives and dies. And like, I think that like that's one of the problems with that debate, is that like, at the end of the day, I feel like Wiz could have gone for the throat a little bit more with that too. He could have been like, if you got to go to D&D, it doesn't suck. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's why I kind of stuck to some of the like the points on versatility that I don't feel really work, and other things like that. But like, I feel like while it lives and dies by the DM, I feel like a DM has to do a lot more work to make something work outside of what D&D is trying to do, other than other games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you take like a Fate Core or something like that. You don't necessarily have to do as much work to make that solo game work. You know what I mean? Whereas D&D, I feel like you have to work a lot harder to make like a solo game work without a party and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, every game is like that. Like, every game, if you have somebody running it who knows how to run it, it's going to be fine. I still think combat is just too long and draggy for me to ever, like, there's no amount of homebrewing for D&D combat that will ever make me go, yay! Like, it will never make me want that.
That's the one thing, is like, you do have to have people who are like on it. Like, I know, like myself, whenever I've played as a character, I already know what I'm going to do on my turn, and the second I finish my turn, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to do.
And you have to, because it takes long enough to do the turn as it is. So if you're in there and you're like, okay, and you're kind of like trying to figure it out, like, it's oh my god.
And that's the thing, is like, newer players, it's like the experience level overall of everybody playing is what really has a factor in everything. Like, one thing that I've started doing that I feel like brings everybody in is not separating myself so much from, I am the DM, I am the one who make the rules.
Right.
Like, there's a game, I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, called The Quiet Year. And it is a world building game that I use to establish a world for D&D now.
Nice.
So everybody gets a turn, and there's like rules and stuff to where everybody at the table gets to say, this is what happens in this world. This is a town where there are things. And then from there, like, when we're actually playing D&D, like, they have agency over that stuff. And then it's like, you encounter a situation, and it's like, you encounter a man, he reveals his face.
Right.
What does he look like?
Right.
Because then they care,
Yeah, and I don't disagree with any of that. Again, I think you're right. I think at the end of the day, it's a DM, GM sort of situation. I think, though, the biggest problems I have with D&D are like the versatility, the fact that it's very restrictive as far as the combat goes, and it's very rules heavy, and it also broadcasts itself as this like huge entry point for gaming, which is just, there's so many better games to start your role-playing game career on than D&D. Love or hate D&D, it's like, thanks to Critical Role and stuff like that, that's the one that people go out and buy the player's handbook for, and it's just like, holy shit, just talk to a nerd before you do that, because there's so many better games that you could get into that you would enjoy or like, and then get into D&D down the road. I'm not even saying don't. I'm just saying that, like, it broadcasts itself as, like, the end-all, be-all of RPGs, and I'm like, it really isn't when you really look at the whole heart of it. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun debate. It was a fun debate. I think somebody did comment on our video and basically was like, it's very hard for the person, like, fighting for D&D, which I did not envy Wizard's position, because for me to be able to point out a game's flaws, just one game's flaws, while he has to point out why it's great, it's going to be so hard to fight. It's such a, like, you're putting me at elevated position with a sniper rifle right off the bat, like, because all I have to do is look at the things that don't work for everybody, and then just hit them.
Like a 1v5 fight. Like,
yeah, it really is. It really is. But he wanted to do it, and I was like, okay, like that. Yeah, it was. Yeah, but it was a good show, I think.